For those of you who don't know me, I'm Colonel François Beaupré. I have the honor of being the occupation advisor for the Sealy side of the branch, and I love this job. I get to share it with Chief Warrant Officer Norm Dubois, who is the Senior Trade Advisor, the SOA. What does SOA stand for again?
Senior Occupation Advisor.
Senior Occupation Advisor for the ATIS trade, and he will help me in this presentation. In fact, if you know, at one point in the presentation, you're probably going to hear him say what the Colonel meant to say, and then you know what that really means. The third point I want to say before we get going is observation with respect to the difficult participation of the Air Force this year for this particular event. As you know, we normally time this event with our annual conference, the annual A6 conference, which is now called the A6 Community Annual Conference, the CAPCON, Annual Planning Conference. And we just received our event approval last week. And unfortunately, it was not time, we did not have enough time to plan all the travels. So our Air Force partners, most of them are on the other side of DLN or the internet listening to us over there. Next year, we hope to bring them back. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to have a planning conference this year. It is being rescheduled probably end of January, early February timeframe, at least before the end of this fiscal year, so that our folks that plan to attend are going to be able to attend. The Air Force has a new commander, Lieutenant General Mike Hood. Great guy, air mover guy. He was commander of the wing in Trenton, so a CC-130 pilot. The Chief Warrant Officer, the new Chief Warrant Officer for the Air Force, Gérard Poitras, he is a Lodi type, so they've grown up together, and they are growing the Air Force, taking it to the next stage, as Joel Blondin did under his watch. Next slide, please. You'll see the roles of the Air Force pretty much match the roles as defined in the Canada First strategy. Perfect match between both of them. Next slide, please. Structure of the Air Force. The Air Force headquarters is really focused on the change agenda. Our two air divisions, one Canadian Air Division and two Canadian Air Division, both based in Winnipeg, look after the sustainment agenda. One Canadian Air Division focused on later stage force generation and force employment, everything force employment. Two Canadian Air Division focused on the earlier stage of force generation, bringing people to op qualifications, and then they are taken for mission quals with the one Canadian Air Division. The Air Warfare Center, mostly doctrine and experimentation. Next slide, please. That's our fleet. Very huge spread in age. It goes from the Twin Otter, our aircraft that the branch leader probably loves to hate. Great platform, but not a young one. It is coming near its end of its life cycle. No, I mean the aircraft, sir. So. I should be more specific.
Good answer, sir.
Yeah. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we have our CH-148 Cyclone. 6 of 28 have already been delivered. This is our new shipborne aircraft. Amazing mission systems in the back, and we'll talk a little bit more on the mission systems later on. Next slide, please. This is what we do when we talk about our home missions. And most of them we don't do on with our own. We partner with our sister service, mainly the Navy in this particular case, but we also work heavily with the Coast Guard, with customs folks, with the RCMP, and so most of our missions are run in a whole of government type of construct when it comes to the defense of Canada. Next slide, please. North America, that's pretty much synonymous with NORAD. The branch has a huge role to play in NORAD. if you look at the critical mass of where we have ATIS and CELI officers within the Air Force, a good bunch of them are located in the air defense sector in North Bay, in Winnipeg, in the region, and our 2 fighter bases in Bagotville and Cold Lake. Next slide, please. And we also have quite a bunch of people in Colorado Springs. When it comes to international work, that's where we work more closely with the Army most times. And we typically have, like right now at this very moment, because a lot of the OUTCAN missions are very heavy on the Air Force, we have in the order of 700 or so air personnel deployed. 25 to 30 of them are ATIS and CELI Air personnel. Next slide, please. The commander has a new flight plan, a new vision that he's inculcating in all of us. What he wants us to do is to become, and we're already a good part of the way there, but to become an agile, integrated Air Force with reach and power in support of CAF operations. What we mean by agile is just like the Libya mission where we had fighters up in theater within 24 hours. That's the agility that the commander wants. Now, it would be great if, yes, we get the fighters there, but next time let's try to get the comms there with them. Integrated, that means that, that our various fleets need to be able to work together, and integration as well, as I just indicated, the comms challenge that we face overseas, that also falls in the integration between our fleets and the support personnel, the enablers. Reach is worldwide. We already have a worldwide reach. It would be even better if we could communicate and operate from our own Arctic, and we are working on that. Power, that's the effects that we deliver on the CAF roles and mandates. Next slide, please. Okay, talk a little bit about some of the initiatives we have in place right now, just for illustrative purposes. One of the things we're doing is we're revamping the way that our search masters in the search and rescue mission prosecutes that particular operation. It's a map display that will show all the forces involved with the prosecution, that will allow the search master to direct the mission and save those people in as little time as possible to minimize the risk of loss of life and limb. And that's a project run within my shop in Ottawa by mostly CELI officer and with ADMIM, again, with comms CNE personnel. Next slide, please. And then Tech 3 is another example. This is a very important project, one that's been in the books for a long time. It's finally getting traction. What we're doing here is we're replacing all the ground-air-ground radios that support both air traffic control and aerospace control mission. We're delivering a national data link network around our populated areas. Unfortunately, we are not covering the north with that technical data link on a permanent basis. That being said, our 5 deployable units will have deployable tactical data link capabilities. And when I talk about tactical data link, I don't only talk about Link 16, but it's also full motion video. And the last thing we're doing with that initiative is putting comms equipment into our fuelers, our CC-130 refuelers, so that they can be used as comm relays and comms extension. And that, again, is run by CNE personnel within my shop, and not in ADMIM this time, it's in ADM MAT from the personnel management side of the house. Next slide, please. This is what everybody sees as a plane. That happens to be a CP-140, amazing platform, great platform that has proven itself as a counter-submarine platform in the past. It is now, it is not your Aurora of your grandma. This is a brand new beast that we're developing. Next slide, please. This is still how the crew sees it. Okay? It's their home. Next slide. This is how the ARI community and the avionics technicians see that particular platform. A big hunking camera with a big hunking satellite dish and all kinds of mission systems in the back. The MH-148 is similar in that respect. Next slide, please. That's our challenge. Okay? How do we connect as a community this platform back to the network? Now, the network is a network that operates in all security domains, that the consumer may be in our ally, may be located in CENTCOM in Florida, or may be located in theater, but it is a Five Eyes type of network. We need to figure how to make that work. Now, in addition to that, to keep that platform in the air, we have it needs its own command and control at the mission level, which is very close to the platform. You put data on a PCMCIA card that feeds the cockpit, but you also need command and control at the unit level so that we can plan crews and airframes, make sure we get the right one assigned, and then the long-range planning and all those things done at the operational level. This is where we all fit as a community on the Air Force side. Next slide, please. And then we got beasts like this coming on, eh? The Air Force of the future, and I don't mean to be disparaging towards my current masters, but the pilot and the AXOs and the ASOPs will not matter as much in the future as they matter today, because many of the platforms that will operate in the future in the air domain will be unmanned. This is an example of what we're doing in the unmanned. We have an officer by the name of Craig Chiasson, which is part of the project management team to deliver this capability as a CELI officer. But a lot of them will also be autonomous, like the Google cars. This is going to be a changing, a revolution in military affairs, especially on the Air Force side. And we need to position ourselves to shape that particular future. Next slide. I've showed this before. Eh? This is the vision of the commander. Next slide. This is what I think needs to become the vision of our side of the branch. You notice the only difference there is that rather than have air power information, I've combined the word information as one, and that's what we need to be able to deliver as the Air Force participants of the branch to the Air Force. Next slide. But that's not going to be an easy trek. That's going to be a very challenging time. Our demographics are not helping us. If you look at that particular slide, everybody between 25 years and 39 years of service will be gone in 10 years. They'll be replaced by the middle band there. Those are the people that were recruited in the 90s. They don't exist. Eh? They're not there. There's no relief, not sufficient relief. And look at all the youngsters. Eh? So what are we going to do to position these youngsters for the future? There's all kinds of things we need to do. It's not just a challenge on the officer side of the branch. We have the equivalent challenge in the ATIS trade, and I would argue, based on the presentation we just got from Colonel Sullivan and the branch leader, it is a challenge that we face within the whole community. So we need to figure out how to make sure that we can develop the young people as quickly as possible, make them as proficient as possible, and try to make up for the lack of experience on a time basis with means of professional development and mentoring and things like that. Next slide, please. So here's some of the things that we are doing right now to address those challenges. We have zero-loaded let's call it the CELI Advanced course, the AOSIS, this year, so that we can revamp it for the future and make sure that our senior officers are going to be ready for those challenges that I just described. We're a little bit behind the game when it comes to the senior courses when compared to the basic courses. We started with the basic courses. We have a brand new QS for the basic CELI Air Officer, which, as an example, includes APO on cyber and includes more emphasis on things like space and focuses really on everything C4ISR and how to provide the commander of the Air Force the mission assurance he needs from the cyber domain and the space domain in order to deliver his effects in the air domain. We need to translate what the lessons were, what we've done with the basic CELI Air to the advanced courses right now. And there's a huge challenge that we've given to the school, to our school here in SIFC, to produce that first course of basic CELI Air. It will be running in January. but you can imagine the task of preparing all the TPs for that course. We're a little bit behind right now. We've got some catching up to do, but we will deliver a course in the new year. That being said, no, it's not only do we need to deliver the course to address the demographic challenge that I just mentioned, but we have an associate problem in that the trade is currently manned only at about 93-94%, so we have a lot of vacancies within both the ATIS and the CLE, a little bit more on the officer side than in the NCM side. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, before I go, can't forget about the QL6. Our senior ATIS course, we will incorporate the PO on cyber that we've developed for our young officers. That's the plan right now. Next slide. Another element that I think that we need to focus on in order to build the proficiency of the branch as quickly as possible is focus on our mentorship program. We have what I would consider a mentorship program which is equal to none, both in the Air Force and could argue potentially within the Canadian Armed Forces. I think we are the envy from a mentorship program of every other branches. We have people like Justin Thibert, Lieutenant Colonel Thibert, current commander of SIFNOC, who's somewhere in the audience. Right, there he is, who is championing that particular program and making sure that it works. And the proof is in pudding that this thing is working. The attrition rate for the CLE Air officer is we have not met the attrition target of the Canadian Forces for the last 2 years, which means that there are more people sticking around than what the models are showing. And I think one of the reasons that we're staying, after 33, after 35 years of service is because we have a sense of belonging. And I think the mentorship program does a lot in that respect to encourage our people to stay in the forces. They see the reason, they see value in staying, both as being mentors and as being mentees. And to me, this is an indication that it works. But participation rate is not 100%. We're working on making it better because I think this is something we definitely have to focus in order to produce the airmen of the future that we need within the branch and the air ladies in the future. Next slide. Okay, this is my last slide, I think, before we close out. Hopefully I'm not too much over time. You notice we all have new ranks in the Air Force. The titles are the same, just like the Army, we kept the same titles, except for the rank of privates. We no longer have any privates in the Air Force. We now have aviators, aviateurs in the Air Force.
So as the Colonel pointed out, we have the new ranks. Some of the other things we have been doing as well, we have the new belt buckle that can be purchased at the museum here. And the other initiative that we worked on, my predecessor, Chief Warrant Officer Brian Peaver, had started on that, is a unique identifier for the RCAF technicians and all of our troop. So put in the briefing note to the commander of the RCAF, or the chief of the RCAF, and it was approved. So we will have the unique identifier on CAD-PAD or operational dress only. And it's going to become elect. And that's to tie it in back into our heritage. And there used to be, way back when, we used to have COMELECT on our slip-ons versus Canada. I'm currently working with supply to try to find out if we can get it through the system so that it'll be at no cost. If that fails, then my next option will be going through the museum to get a contract done up. What is causing us or me some issue is that we are currently in a transition period of going from the slip-on to the new one, which is a Velcro type. So we have to have ability to be able to have the COMELECT for both types.
We've got boxes into which we fit people. We've got the box that fits uniformed people, and it's very well defined. They go from posting to posting and they progress in rank. We've got box for public servants, who, that's equally well defined. They stay in the chair and they never move from that chair. We even got a box for contractors who are brought in and discarded as needed. I'm sensing that we're missing a box. And that is, especially when I look at that Aurora project, that's the box which contains people who are maybe poached from industry nicely, they poach people from us, but contain people who stick around for a long time, develop an in-depth understanding of very niche technology, but are also part of our structure, but not civilian constrained to that public service thing. I don't even know how to describe the box, but there seems to be a gap here. Has any analysis gone into this sort of mix of things? Okay, so really, one of the challenges is, one of the boxes is being posted every 2 to 4 years.
So yeah, it's good. So the it's a little bit of a complicated matter that is. Sorry, I missed your name, Captain. Captain Murphy, right? Captain Murphy brought in. But really, what we're trying to handle is, this is the environment that I described is a very complicated environment that having people in uniform that move all the time would make it so that it's difficult to keep the expertise and looking at the various ways that the various boxes that we have, as an example, civilian employees, contractors, reservists, rec force. Is there a box missing there to address the challenges that environments like this that this brings in? I don't know the exact answer to that, but you notice that one of the areas. One of the additions I made to the boxes that you labeled is the reserve box. And I definitely see a place for us that were in uniform, that want to continue the uniform but aren't interested in moving anymore, to take over a reserve position. And in the Air Force, we have the advantage of being able to embed reserve members in our Rec Force units. And we can use them on a longer basis. Now, if that reservist happens to be an annuitant, there's limitations on that, but at least they can still contribute to the fight, and we can keep the knowledge. And I mean, you do time out when you reach 60 years of age in the reserves as well, so there's limitations there as well.